there's a lens benefit with just about most plans, right? They have an
Mm-hmm.
eye exam benefit, they have a lens benefit, and they have a frame benefit. And that lens benefit, if it gets used for contact lenses, probably the most common purchase is going to be the 3-month supply for disposable contact lenses. It's not common that you're getting the annual supply right up front, because patients have gotten very savvy to take the prescription, get what the insurance covers, because they say, what does my insurance cover? Well, it covers this amount. Well, I'm going to take advantage of it. And that gets me started. I've got 3 months worth of contact lenses. When I need more, I know exactly where to go. The likelihood of that being you is not what it used to be, right? So if you create the supplemental plan, and I don't know.
Hello and welcome to the Crucial Podcast on iCode Media. Today I had a great conversation with Renato Cappuccitti. We talked about Vision HQ, we talked about membership plans and how to actually incorporate those with simple strategies so that we're not doing things all over the place, so we can stay focused. So I hope you enjoy our conversation. As always, be sure to subscribe to the podcast, write a review, share it with your friends, and support those who support us. The most common questions I get include, what ophthalmological codes or evaluation and management codes should I use? What ICD-10 codes do I need to bill with this CPT code? What CPT codes can be billed together and what can't? And my favorite, how do I manage a patient who has diabetes who comes in for a quote-unquote routine eye exam? These questions really highlight the confusion and uncertainty that serves as a daunting hurdle for providers, makes it more challenging for them to care for their patients and provide those patients with the best opportunity for a lifetime of ocular health and clear vision. That's why we built iCode Education, for this specific purpose. Our mission is to provide optometrists with resources to help you understand disease states, revenue cycles, and billing and coding so that you can put that on autopilot and truly care for your patients. Check out iCodeEducation.com. That's EYECODE education.com. We've developed a premier billing and coding bundle that includes all of our billing and coding resources in one place. We also have a 10% discount code just for listeners of this podcast. Enter the coupon code EYECODEMEDIA22 at checkout. We'd love to work with you. Check out iCodeEducation.com. A question that I hear all the time is, should I be taking an AREDS 2 vitamin? With MacuHealth Plus, we can finally have a formulation that follows science without adding unnecessary ingredients, and we can rely on it to know what is in the container is actually what is labeled on the container. We use it specifically for intermediate AMD patients, and the patients with AREDS 2 data it's the strongest for. And the ability to include mesozeaxanthin allows us to support macular function, not just slow disease progression, although it's good at that. That's why it's become a go-to in our conversation. So what I wanted to have you on today for is to kind of explore the idea, the origin story of where Vision HQ comes from. And really to kind of put it in a little bit better perspective, one of the things as I help doctors across the country integrate new technology into their practice, and as a practice owner myself, probably one of the biggest sticking points is when new technology, new software, new systems come into place, we're trying to figure out how we work that into our existing practice and try to wrap our minds around that. So give me a little bit of perspective on the origin story of Vision HQ and how we can integrate that into an optometric practice.
Sure. I think the good thing with the origin of Vision HQ is that it's, in my experience and having spent my career in the vision care space, it's been something that we've talked about for decades. How can we become like the dental industry to get patients coming back on a very routine and regular basis? We've always admired how they're able to do that. And Vision HQ, the software, came from the dental industry. Dental HQ was founded by our founder, CEO, who's a dentist. He's a practitioner, and he needed it for himself. These softwares are quite common within the dental industry. There's several of them. And he needed something a little bit more robust because he had multiple practices and needed something that was more suited to his needs for his patients. And being really an entrepreneur and a visionary, set out to develop his own software with engineers to create something that was really suited to a medical practice, if you will. Um, Having had relationships with, people in the vision care space, it was pretty obvious that this makes so much sense in vision. There's a lot of, similarities between dental and vision, and this is how Vision HQ came to be, a technology that launched a couple of years ago in the vision care space. So while technologies like this are relatively new to vision care, they're not new in general. They've been utilized quite a bit.
One of the biggest frustrations I think practitioners have is this, this idea, this battle. I mean, it's such a battle between, if you kind of boil it down, it's this idea that like I have to take a managed vision care plan and not just one, but I have to take multiple, if not all, right? That's the kind of little thing going on in the back of most practitioners' brains. And I have to do it because I'm going to acquire new patients through that mechanism. But I'm going to do it at some significant cost, internal cost. And I'm not entirely sure of what that cost will be. I know for sure that my services will be undervalued. But I think I can make it up on the back end if I have the opportunity to sell that patient a widget, glasses or contact lenses. And if I'm really firing on all cylinders, then I have the ability to also detect acute and chronic ocular diseases, which need further management. And all of that, if I've worked it well into my practice, makes that managed vision care plan worth it, quote unquote, worth it, because it's delivering patients. But there's still, even in that sense, and even if you can quote unquote, I hate that people will always try to say, well, I'll just convert them to medical. That creates this kind of weirdness in the system. But there's just this battle that people begrudgingly take these plans. They know that ultimately they're not sure if they're actually worth it to the practice. So how does Vision HQ kind of solve that tug in a practice? Does it create something new? Does it create a new pull, or does it solve some of that challenge?
I think it helps solve some of the challenge, and I'll go back to some of the things that you had mentioned in terms of people saying that they have to have the vision care plans for survival in some cases. You hear it all the time. If I don't have it,
if you're in
I can't stay in
California,
business.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you need, and that traffic flow allows you to have the opportunity to establish the relationship. And you're hoping that these become lifelong relationships. There's the challenge itself. In you get patient attrition, that they come to see you and you have to measure everything, your capture rate, whether they're going to be there for medical reasons versus just for materials or just for the services of an eye exam. So you really do need that traffic flow. And there's a percentage of the population that just loves that relationship of having insurance. I need to have insurance. I pay for insurance. My employer offers it. I can afford it. And that's what I'm used to. But there's a new demographic of patients that are people that are at it through 15% of all the insurances are purchased from younger people that are just not getting it from, their traditional employer route. So when you have this insurance model that allows people to come in and obtain services and materials, I think the thing that's been sort of an ongoing battle is that people continue to feel that if I don't have insurance, vision care can be expensive. But if I have insurance, it's going to be inexpensive. And as you said earlier, how can I really make sure that I'm making the most of that patient? The opportunity then is to keep providing or offering things that are not covered in order to make sure that, and usually the basics are covered, right? It's how many patients constantly will say, I thought my glasses were going to be free. I thought it was going to be, I thought everything was going to be included. Why do I have such a big bill? And it's like, well, it covers this portion, but you're still getting a great deal. Insurance does let you get what we say is a greatly reduced cost to something that is something that I need, and then I find out that I have all these other technologies that are not covered, but they sound fantastic, and it sounds like something I really need, so I'm going to get them because my practitioner, my service provider, my relationship with my doctor and my optician, they've convinced me this is what's best for me. Now, that's my out of pocket. So there's two out of pockets, right? The out of pocket for the insurance and the out of pocket for the materials. Um, the way that the way that we sort of help to coexist with that is to create that transparency and sort of the awareness with letting patients know that if they don't have insurance, A, that you do have something that makes vision care affordable. Back to people that say, if I have insurance, my glasses are affordable. If I don't, they're not going to be affordable. And that's when people tend to want to leave. If they, that's when we look at capture rate. Did they just come to you for the eye exam because they feel that you're really good at that, but they felt that maybe they couldn't afford to purchase from you? And the plans help to do that, to create a lot of transparency for cost of materials and services as well. And as far as, the demographics of people that have benefits, you've got also people that they don't have material coverage. They may just have exam coverage. And that's also another scary one, because if they come to you just for the exam and they go somewhere else for materials, you're spending a lot of time in the exam room getting a small reimbursement. Or, is your time value? Are you getting back what you needed to get back for spending 30 to 40 minutes with a patient workflow in your office and just getting a reimbursement for the exam? That's where you need to look at how you can sort of get a greater ROI per patient. And a membership plan helps you do that when they don't have material coverage.
Probably the most important word that you said in my mind, where a lot of the friction comes, I think, in the doctor's minds, is the word transparency. There's this sense that, well, the patients have no idea that when they pay for a managed vision care plan, and I don't love the term insurance, but I get on that bandwagon too of calling it insurance. There's no risk that these plans are managing, really. But the problem with transparency is the patient has no idea that when they pay their premium for that plan that gives them a defined benefit, that's going to the insurance company. They're aware of that, but they're not aware of the idea that when they come into my office, chances are they're going to buy a product that and the reason I say chances are is that I'm incentivized through that managed vision care plan to carry more of their products, or they try to incentivize me, and they try to incentivize us to carry more of their products, which we have to buy on the front end. So they're not aware that they're being pushed to those products by those managed vision care plans, not aware that those managed vision care plans own the products. And the reason they're being pushed is because either they get better copays, they get better less out-of-pocket costs if they use those compared to other things. They might even just be in a location where the only thing that's in that location are brands that are full of are only owned by that managed vision care plan. So when they pay the doctor, say $500, they're not aware that half or more of that $500 is going to go straight from the doctor into the managed vision care plan's pocket. So there's this lack of transparency. Well, the doctor feels it, but the doctor looks like, and by the way, if I'm using that managed vision care plan's lab, which again, I may be either contractually obligated to do, or there's so much incentive for me to use that lab that it creates a disincentive to find other alternatives, that the patient experience may be impacted because that lab may take 2 to 4 weeks to complete a job. And whose problem is that? Well, that's my problem. I look bad for that. And so that whole entire transaction is obscured to the patient experience. They're not aware of it, and we don't have good ways to show them that, because frankly, we're not fully aware of where the money goes, because the EOB comes back and you pull some money from this exam and apply it to this, and most people it requires like a lot of study or an accounting degree to figure out what those EOBs are actually telling us. So I love the idea of transparency. Tell me how you help with transparency specifically. Give me a specific instance where I can improve that transparency in my patient interaction.
Well, when you create a plan, and this is when our success team works with our customers or our clients to make sure that the plans are created and worded in such a way that it's simple language. You know, that there's 5 features and benefits in this plan when you're joining it, whether it's going to be my refraction is going to be included. I'm going to get a discount or a dollar amount off. I know what that amount is. I'm going to get some included benefits, whether that's going to be just say certain things like, to get value added and say you have a 1-year warranty, you have a cleaning kit, you have this percentage off or there's dollar amount off if you have packages, and do things like this and say it's easy to do simple math. And the simple math is where people feel that this is where transparency makes it really easy for us as consumers. It's sort of like when you have to compare your cell phone plan, plan A, B, and C, gold, silver, bronze. It's real simple. You see 5 to 10 benefits on gold and you see 3 benefits on bronze, and people know where to land. It's between silver and gold. And it's like, I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get all these things. So if I know what I'm going to get, it makes my purchasing cycle faster. It makes it easier because now my freedom to choose is in my hands. It's in my control. So we see a lot of same day sales. We see increased capture rate. And then people are saying, if I know I'm going to save X percentage, now when I'm looking at product, I see the price. What I don't know is the price on lenses. That's always the one that people just don't know, right? But when you're spending time with a patient, this allows you to now just go into as a practitioner, you said earlier, you might be contractually obligated to deal with a certain lab or certain products. You don't have to worry about that. You and your staff know where you have the best margins. You know that you're going to make it affordable for the patient, and they know they're going to save substantially on the product because of the plan that they've, said yes to. So the transparency is in the offer. A lot of people make a decision to enroll into a plan just before the exam, same day, or just before coming in to get their exam because you've communicated with them that you have this available, and hopefully everyone in the office is touching the patient with this information that you're now offering these to your patient base. So if you're doing it early on, it shortens the cycle from exam and services right to the final, purchasing glasses or contact lenses, and making it a lot easier versus having to sit down and say, let's go through your insurance, let's see what's covered, let's see what's not. Let's talk about how we can maximize or optimize your insurance, right? And yes, membership plan is not insurance, and we can't say that it's insurance, right? It's one thing we avoid because we're not insurance.
Well, and I would also argue that most managed vision care plans are not insurance, right? But people call them that, in the patient's minds, that's how they're thinking about them, which is why you get into the confusion about, well, I thought everything was covered.
And you have to rely on whether you're working or a membership plan patient or completely out-of-pocket patient, that the entire team is trained on how to overcome those objections properly. I wouldn't be negative on anything. If they've made an investment on insurance, that's their money that they spent, and they felt that was a good investment. We should probably honor that decision and say, look, it was a good decision to get insurance, because what it does, and I learned this long ago, in saying, you're lucky you have insurance. It saved you $350. There's a huge savings there. So what it does, it covers basics like even medical does today. It covers basics, and there's going to be out of pocket. And all the premium offers and premium services and materials, they're going to cost more, but because you have this plan, it costs a lot less than what the regular price would be. So it's a good thing that you have it. Our plans are just like that. It provides you a lower cost because we're able to procure items, with special pricing and rates as well, and we're able to get things to you at a reduced cost. Especially when you know that you're going to include things like, if you're doing an eye exam and materials included, you're including the full cost of the eye exam there and using that as a way to sort of say, I'm going to include this as part of your bundle so you can save money, because that exam price is there for a reason. And that out-of-pocket patient shouldn't be the one that always has to pay the full price, when if you're dedicated to or you rely heavily on insurance, you're never getting that full price from the insurance company. It's a fraction, right? And this is why people struggle with that. And saying the out-of-pocket patient should be treated the same way when you're doing your math and creating your sort of plan cost for your ROI, and saying, a lot of people think about this saying as, how do I get my full exam costs out of this patient? And it shouldn't be viewed that way. How do I incorporate that in there and look at the total value for the patient? If they purchase glasses, if I know my average sale, if I know my average cost, and they buy the glasses, what am I willing to part with? What am I willing to offer in order to get that patient to stay with me? Because the great news about the membership plan is that we have a 90+% re-enrollment rate. When people enroll into a plan with a practitioner, they love their doctor, they love their eye care providers. This is why they come back. When they re-enroll at a 90% rate, now what we see is this opportunity to increase continuity of care. Instead of coming back every 18 to 24 exam, now this patient is coming back on a more frequent basis, every 12 to 14 months, to get that exam, and the likelihood of them probably purchasing glasses is very high again. So we're trying to shorten the cycle of return and maintain that loyalty with the practice and increase value for what they're purchasing, and saying, I don't have to take my prescription and go shop elsewhere now because my doctor is affordable. The prices are great. I've got this plan. I'm included. I'm a member. I'm a member of my doctor that is able to provide prices that I see advertised online or on TV, on commercials of really inexpensive products. I save money because if you do go shop somewhere else, you rarely pay the advertised price, right?
Parents often ask whether a daily disposable lens can really slow myopia progression. Well, with MiSight One Day, the answer is yes. And that's why it's one of our most used options for our young myopes. Kids adapt quickly, comfort's excellent, and compliance stays high because it's a daily lens. In my practice, that reliability is what allows us to confidently build long-term myopia management plans for our patients. Check it out for yourself. MiSight One Day. If you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed and start running a safer, more profitable practice, here's the next step. First, book a strategy call with us, Practice Performance Partners. We'll uncover the biggest risks and opportunities in your practice. Then, choose the package that fits your goals. From there, we'll get you launched with confidence, with clear systems, with expert support, and with peace of mind knowing your practice is protected and set up to grow. Don't wait until something goes wrong. Book your strategy call with us, Practice Performance Partners, today. So tell me, so can we walk through? I want to actually give the listeners a concrete example, and I'll use my office as an example. I want you to kind of guide me if I were to say, hey, Renato, I want to incorporate this, but honestly, in my practice, and you hear this all the time, I'm sure, but I have acquired my dad's patients who retired about 4 years ago. Plus, I have all of my patients over the last 18 years, and most of my patients. The vast majority of my patients were managing for some medical issue. So I want to be able to create an opportunity for maybe those patients, but maybe my other patients who don't have that. But let's try to keep it I'll try to keep the scenario as simple as I possibly can. Okay. So I'm going to give you numbers of my, let's say, comprehensive exam refraction. This is not a guide of like, you should charge this or you should charge that. I'm just going to use real dollars so that people can wrap their minds around it and hear how you would guide me. And then I'll talk about what we call the archive. And so I'll talk about kind of a general optical strategy that we've incorporated based on our work with Dr. Alex Martin. And then you can say, okay, well, this is how I would see that fit. You think that would work?
Sure. Let's go ahead.
All right. So let's say so we get into new versus established. I'll just pick I'll pick a number. Okay, this is not the exact number, but comprehensive exam, let's say it's $220 plus a $79 refraction. Okay, so that's the plus a $40 Optos, right? So I want to bundle that in, okay, to some benefit. And then we also, what we've done in terms of our optical is to structure what we call the archive, which is our ability to try to say, listen, these frames, they're not discontinued frames. They're just frames that didn't really work in our practice, right? We brought in brands, tried them out, but we're moving them out because they're not going through. And within that archive, we've said, listen, that we can single vision, poly, glare free. We can deliver that for $150 for a patient, lenses included, because we'll edge them in house, right? So you can kind of see where the math goes.
100%.
So I want to be able to include that, okay, with options for upgrades if they need progressives or bifocals or whatever, right? I want to include that into that bundle. So essentially, if we're dealing with the math, okay, so usual and customary would be 220 plus rough math, let's say 80, so we're at 340 plus 150. All right, so to do the rough math, I'm talking about a $490 package, usual and customary, face value. Where do I start to try to get to that place that it makes sense to offer something like that to a patient?
All right, so the first thing I'm going to say is you started off with the one thing that I say we avoid ever using in an offer to the patient through a membership plan is comprehensive eye exam. So we're going to use the term either wellness exam, refraction, because you're obligated through insurance because of being
Correct.
a network of you can't discount the comprehensive exam. So this is going to say in this math we can say this is the value for that wellness exam, okay? And what you choose to do, we're wanting to make sure the patient gets that prescription for eyeglasses, and then somewhere there should be some sort of stipulation that says, the patient will be obligated for any medical necessity out-of-pocket expenses that you might find. And that's going to be between you and the patient. But now to go through with, and I love the fact that you created what I call the packages, the full packages with single vision and progressives, which are the two common things, and you provided everything that they would probably want that you're going to have them, sit down with you and talk about anyways, which is an anti-reflective coating, making it easy. So in this case, if we came up with a number and say, okay, you've got a $490 all in, and I know when you've got these archive frames, your cost of goods on this, we'll say they're pretty much paid for, but even if they're not, you're still buying frames with these amazing discounts because frames data, has created this sort of the list price versus what you really pay, and you've probably become very good at being able to purchase products that are, good ROI for you. So now
I wish we were better. I wish we were better.
Everybody, there's always room for improvement, right?
Yeah.
So in this situation, let's just say I would include certain things in building the plan. Let's just come up with a number of, say, hey, if you include the package with single vision and you want to offer the glasses in it, I would say this is your package with glasses included. I would also try to make it without the archive glasses. So this is, or you could do something where you can say, I'm going to do something in the middle. So let's do three types of plans here. Okay, plan A is just with the packages, because we have practices that are doing this, and they have a single vision package, they have a progressive package, they do quite well. And they say, if you come in, we have this package. It's package A for single vision. And package A includes your exam, your retina evaluation, and it includes anything from our special collection, right? Of however you word that for this package. It includes your single vision glasses. And you could make that and say, this is $450, everything's included. What you also want to do is put, this is your savings on that. There's got to be a savings. It can't just be the sum of the total parts, because they'll just purchase everything separately. So there's a savings. Is if you want to say, look, I'm going to make this 400 and say it's 400 includes a $150 pair of glasses plus your exam and the retina screen and everything else that you might want to offer in addition to that as the value added. Now it starts to create value, and they're saying, yeah, I can do this. They might just decide before they even have the exam, as they're sitting there waiting, and having a look, and your staff is hopefully having the opportunity to engage with them, letting them know that this exists so that they can already start the process before the examination. Then you create that package price for your progressive as well. That's only with your archive frames. What if you wanted to include the archive frames as part of a full package? We'll say package B, and say this package will be on the root algorithm that this, but I'm just going to say, based on what you've told me, I'm going to come up with a $290 is going to, or $300. This is going to provide the refraction, the retina screen. I'm going to give you $75 off any of our archive packages, or I'm going to give you X percent. Let's just use 30% off any eyeglass purchase in the store. In addition, there's going to be a benefit for Plano sunglasses, a percentage off. There's going to be a second benefit for eyeglasses, which is a multiple purchase benefit, which you can say, a lot of times with the laboratories that you're using, you can get that if you order a second pair of lenses, you get an additional incentive from your laboratory and say, if you order within 30 days, your second pair is going to be 50% off. So whatever those percentages are, you work with them. So I'm just providing some examples. And then that creates a lot more value and transparency and a lot of things for them to choose from to know, well, I can get this today and I could come back and there's a second pair. And if I also want to have a contact lens benefit in there as well, you can throw that in and say, you get a lot for your money now. And now the patient starts to see several benefits that they're going to take advantage of. You're planting seeds for the second purchase, increase in purchase when people do this. We like to see a little bit of urgency in saying purchase within 30 or 60 days. So they know they don't have to do it the same day, but if they see a value right on that day, they're going to do it. And then if you have a dollar amount savings on your archive packages, that could be the primary or the secondary pair that they get. And saying, can I take advantage of both? That's your decision whether you want to allow them to, but why wouldn't you? Because in your mind, you're always making money based on what you said you could afford to part with. And if you could part with $75 on $6 towards your progressive package, especially if they've got the exam, they've got the retina screening, they've gotten, a purchase. You have a purchase with them on your primary pair. Now you have to look at the total ROI on the patient. I might have a patient that came in, enrolled in the program, and before they leave, I've calculated maybe an $800, day of visit for the day, which includes a package for single vision. It might include a purchase on a pair of single vision glasses from your regular products, and you have the exam in there. You've got your retina screening, and then you do your math and do your ROI and say, did I come out with the ROI that I was expecting? If that percentage is 65%, gross profit, however that looks, you need to determine that when you're building these plans. Look at what that looks like for you as a practice, and that's when you start building your plans with a price point. We give you a starting point with our algorithm when you tell us what those costs are. Then you and your team will build those and say, we've determined that this is what our target price is going to be that's going to allow us with our average sale to make the money that we need to make with a gross margin that makes sense. And now we see a lot of acceptance with these plans when people are doing that because it's very transparent for what they get. And there's value when they're saving $200 or $300.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, probably the most exciting thing to me is just the transparency. Like I said, it's gotten so convoluted that the patients are frustrated. I mean, like you said, patients like their managed vision care plans. They think they're getting something really valuable, but they do also, they get frustrated when they find out that it's not covered to the extent that they thought it was going to be covered. And so I do like that where it's showing them that value through your practice. How much, in your experience, so again, as I work through this, kind of as the average doctor evaluating this in their practice, well, people that already have managed vision care plans, are they less likely to jump on board because they already think they have things covered? Is it only once they know that, or they feel like it's convoluted, that they want to change? Is it more likely for patients who are just not covered at all? What's your experience with that?
So I think that when you start thinking of membership plans, the first thing that you want to start looking at is your patients that are your uninsured patients, because this is where it makes sense. You're trying to provide value with uninsured patients because they'll probably end up leaving with the exam and looking elsewhere to try to save money. That's where we see the capture rate going down. Your insured patients, you have an obligation when you're in network insurance. So we don't want to offer the plan or the full plan for patients with insurance. But it's important to make them aware of what you have, because if they see value down the road, they might decide that your offer is the better offer for the future. So it's important to plant those seeds. But you also create what we call supplemental plans for patients that have insurance, and we call it the underinsured portion of your patient base, which now becomes quite large. And an example here is there's a lens benefit with just about most plans, right? They have an eye exam benefit, they have a lens benefit, and they have a frame benefit. And that lens benefit, if it gets used for contact lenses, probably the most common, purchase is going to be the 3-month supply for disposable contact lenses. It's not common that you're getting the annual supply right up front, because patients have gotten very savvy to take the prescription, get what the insurance covers, because they say, what does my insurance cover? Well, it covers this amount. Well, I'm going to take advantage of it. And that gets me started. I've got 3 months worth of contact lenses. When I need more, I know exactly where to go. The likelihood of that being you is not what it used to be, right? So if you create the supplemental plan, and I don't know if we want to call it supplemental plan or the contact lens plan, the in-office contact lens plan that you can use and offer to the patients and say, hey, let's maximize and optimize what you have with your insurance. Great, this is what's going to be covered. And then we have this additional plan for you to be looking at, which is an in-office contact lens plan for the annual supply, the remaining supply, whatever that should cover. And people get really creative on how they word this and build it, and saying it includes some savings on your contact lenses. And the goal is to try to get them to do this all on the same day. And we see this happening with a lot of success in many practices. That's one example. The other example is that patient that has exam-only benefit. This is where they have insurance. This is let's face it, with people that are insured with Medicare, there's always the exam benefit, but there's no material benefit. And you'll have an eyewear-only plan. And this is where you go back to your archive collection. You go back to, I'm not going to just offer archive. I'm going to offer the option of archive plus anything in the office if they enroll into the eyewear plan. And now this allows them to freely choose whatever they want, with the idea of, I'm going to save money. So think about those insured patients as always being an opportunity to say, I know what those plans cover more than what they know. You deal with it every day. So you build your plans for the non-covered portions. So that way you can sort of add them on. Hopefully that makes sense.
Well, one of the biggest frustrations that I think a lot of practices have right now are these Medicare Advantage plans where, patients, and I've heard the sales people for these plans, I've heard it from their mouth, where they say, well, Medicare doesn't cover your vision. And they're not wrong. They're not lying to patients. But what the patient hears is Medicare doesn't cover your eyes, which is wrong. And I don't know that I've ever seen a patient on Medicare that doesn't have some medical reason to be there. But then, they're purchasing a benefit where they don't really know. A lot of them have maybe even had cataract surgery, so they don't, they might wear readers, or they might have had multifocals. They don't even wear glasses. But it gives us an opportunity to talk about, listen, we've got refraction that has a benefit with our plan. We've got a retinal screener that has a benefit with our plan. Plus, as you said, we have, access to any eyeglasses. Maybe the archive is covered, but you get some percentage off anything else that's outside of the archive. And it does allow you to have that conversation with your Medicare patients, or patients, like you said, that have some coverage that you would be able to utilize contractually, but those patients will often need other things that are not covered. So I love that.
Yeah, and you mentioned something about having cataract patients, post-cataract patient. These patients, they need things that they normally would not probably think about getting from their doctor's office, and that's a Plano sunglass. A lot of them might go just buy them at a drugstore, buy them at a department
Mm.
store, wherever they can buy them. And if you
Mm.
include these in your plan and saying, you know what, every eye care professional
Yeah,
has
every year.
a beautiful collection of sunglasses, premium sunglasses. And this is a great opportunity to just say, look, this plan that you've enrolled into also gives you a savings on those sunglasses that we have.
Mm.
And if you have readers, even better. And a lot of people don't like to have readers, but they are the best target for that if you've got premium readers. And especially if there's a savings included on these little things, you don't have to have a lot of them turning through. But if all of a sudden you start to see that you've got 50, you know, 50 or 60 readers getting sold more than what you've sold in the past, 100 or so, it makes sense to carry some premium readers. It makes sense to carry more premium sunglasses if you see those patients. If you do see a lot of them, especially inheriting a patient base that's an elderly patient base, you need to try to keep them with you, right? Versus having them just come to you for the medical services. And there's a lot of opportunities that you have with them as well.
Is there in my mind, it seems like there's all these complex avenues I could go down rabbit holes with this, and then as you add complexity, it becomes more challenging to try to integrate it into the practice, at least initially. So, what's been a good successful, like if I were going to say, all right, we're going to do this into our practice, what's a good strategy to like keep it simple at first? Are we always looking to solve a problem for our specific patient population, or you're like, Chris, this is the thing that everybody does first. If you're going to be successful at this, do this one thing first, create this one plan first, and then from there you can sort of expand it. What's been your experience with that?
Yeah, I think our team has figured that one out. And then as people get really familiar with it, they start to decide they know what's best because they understand their patient base.
Mm-hmm.
So the first 3 or 4 plans that you work with are the ones that are already set up within our software. And the first one is going to be your exam and eyewear package. Okay, this is your first plan. So when we get into our settings, and you've set up yourself in our system, we ask you what your usual and customary is for your retina screen, for your contact lens evaluation, and for your eye exam. Once we have that information, our system automatically gives you recommended costs in your eyewear and exam plan. The next plan that we're going to work with to help you build is going to be your eye exam and contact lens plan. And this is now taking into account your contact lens evaluation, because we want these to be 2 separate prices when you know that patient's coming in for contact lenses. So we build those 2 plans first. The next 2 plans that we build after that are going to be an eyewear only plan, because you have patients coming in with just the exam benefit, or they're just coming in, maybe just, they've used up their benefits and they want to take advantage of something else down the road. The fourth one is a contact lens only plan. That's it. These are your 4 basics. We don't want to go anywhere from there. This is a starting point. And the places to go from here in the rabbit hole you can get into is when you try to do too much up front.
I've gone down those rabbit holes with Aaron multiple times, and I mean, Aaron is such a great mind, like a great business mind and clinical mind. And so he and I will go down these like rabbit holes of like, well, we could do this, well, we could do that. But really, like that, just if you start from that point, it adds so many layers of complexity that I think the vast majority of us will just sort of be like, it's a really great idea, but I don't even know where to start. So I love the idea of like, let's start with 2, let's add maybe 2 more on top of it once we've mastered that. And then once you've mastered those skills, then you can go down further rabbit holes.
So a lot of the success is not just from the plan building, it's from the team training.
Yeah.
And the commitment with everybody. So the first commitment is with the stakeholder. This is the business owner making sure that this is what I want to do for my practice, because membership plan, software, I don't look at this as being, say, we're just offering membership plans. It's a business model shift. It's a way to
Yeah.
market your services and price yourself to the patient with a lot more transparency than you've ever had. So now you're saying this is the way that we're showing you how we do business. It's a business model shift. And now when you get comfortable with the scripting and presenting it to the patients, it's done with the front desk. It's done with the people that your techs. Everybody is a touch point with a patient. When you're booking an appointment, when you're sending out your reminders, you're letting people know that you offer these services. I hate to say, I always say, you don't want to throw up on the page with everything that you do, because too much information can kill a sale. And you just want to say, hey, these are the basics. We now do this. And if people are interested, they're going to say, what else can you do? They're going to want more information, and give them the 3 to 5 bullet points of what's included in the plan in the basics in the script versus everything that's included, and don't make it too wordy. So training, first engagement with the entire team, training on how you present it with every person within the practice that touches the patient, making sure that you're working together as a team. This is part of the success, right? You will get comfortable on presenting it. You'll also get comfortable with the wording and maybe editing how you've created your own plans based on interaction. Do a 30-day check-in with the team and let's review it. What's working? What's not? Where do I get objections? What are people objecting to, and how do you overcome those objections and talk about it? Because people are going to say, oh, I already have insurance. Oh, I was thinking about getting insurance and that covers more. Whatever that objection could be, make sure you talk about overcoming that as a team. This is a new way of doing business. You have to train for that. Once you feel that you're ready and you're really good at doing this, and you've set goals and say, all right, we've enrolled 30 people in 30 days. We're off and running. This is working. Let's create the next plan. And we have a draft section that lets you start creating plans where you can create a myopia plan, a dry eye plan. People will get into scleral contact lens plans for people that don't have any coverage and things like that. This is the rabbit hole, and you don't want to do that all at once. And once you're comfortable and you know how this works, our software does a lot for you on the admin side, so you don't have to worry about it. Just focus on presenting it. What I didn't mention at some point is the patient has the option, and you have the option to offer. You always have the option to offer a monthly payment or payment in full for the annual plan. It's a 12-month commitment. So there's a large percentage of people that do go with the monthly option. If you don't want to offer the monthly option, you just click a box and say it's not offered. It's just the one-time payment. This is up to you. But a lot of patients, they'll say, well, if I choose the monthly payment, that lets me spend more money today on what I'm thinking about getting, because I can now pay monthly for that plan offer. So think about that as a way of saving money.
Yeah. So actually, my guess is that when you talk to a lot of people, they get right into that financial, the financial portion of it. I think that's really, we should cover that. It's less interesting to me because I think the reality is it can work out either way. But as I see it, so, obviously from what I'm hearing from you is that I create this package. And if the patient wants to pay monthly, they're going to pay a little bit more monthly than they would pay. If they just bought the package annually. How do your software processes those credit card payments and then pays me, or do I get the full lump at the beginning and then you're on the hook for collecting? Or do I just basically get a payment every month when that patient makes a payment? So I guess let's get you open that door, so I'll go down it. How does that work?
Fantastic. This is a great set of questions. So we do all the collection for you. So whatever you say, this is monthly cost is going to be X and the annual payment is going to be Y. First, what we do is we say, when you say they pay a little bit more, you can make the payment, the monthly payment, whatever you want. What we calculate is what the full payment's going to be. Okay. Then what we suggest is make the monthly payment. So I say what
I need from that. So I say I need $10 a month, and you're going to add your fee on to that $10, and that's the fee the patient will pay. And if I say I need $100 a year, then you add your fee onto that, and that's what the patient will pay.
So what our software does is it incorporates the management fees. And because it's a credit card transaction, there's obviously a merchant fee that's included in that as well. So we say this is a total fee percentage. So we'll say if you want to make net $10, then we're going to build that. We're going to build those fees into the $10. The patient pays it. It's a one price payment. It's a one-time payment to the patient. So say let's make it $11 to the patient. So that way you're going to net your 10. Okay, and that's not exactly the percentage, but I'm just using the numbers for this conversation. Fair. So what we will do, we will collect and say you enroll one patient a day every day of the month for the 25 days that you're open. So you've got 25 times 10 that we've collected for you, right? So we've got $250 that's been collected. If it's $11, then we're going to say we've collected a little bit more than that. Basically, what's going to end up happening is the credit card processors, we use a third-party credit card processing software. So this is done through Stripe. Stripe holds onto that money for the entire month, and then at the end of the month, deposits it right back into your account. So you get a monthly deposit into your bank account with a reconciliation, with a spreadsheet of everything that people enrolled into, what the full amount was, what plan they enrolled in, with all their personal information that we've collected for you. So that information now by patient is now being deposited back into you monthly. Whether they paid annually or monthly, that's what's being collected. That's what you're getting back. If they pay annually for the 25 patients that you've collected from, have paid annually up front, you'll get that full amount up front at the end of the month. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. So how it practices, again, I guess I'm going to go down one last little rabbit hole in my mind is like, well, okay, at the end of the month, how do I know who has not paid, right? Do I have to go out and, like, let's say they cancel their credit card or it defaults or, whatever. And then they come in next month and want to use some other benefit. Like, is that not likely? Is there a strategy that I can use to account for that in my EHR system? Do I go onto a portal and know if a person is current? How does that work?
So when you're enrolled with us, you have your full dashboard. It has your logo on it. It's yours. It's powered by Vision HQ. So when we're collecting on your behalf for you. And so the patient is dealing with you, not with us, but it's through our system. And now what ends up happening is that we do all the administration. We do the collection. We do the notifications. You mentioned, what if somebody didn't pay? This is the great thing. It's not a rabbit hole. This is a talking point. Our system sends out notifications, multiple notifications within a 28-day period that lets them know, hey, looks like maybe your credit card's changed. Your payment didn't go through. Let's get that fixed. So we continue to reach out to them. There's also the reminders that, hey, there's a 12-month commitment, and with this commitment that you may be responsible for any services that you received for the full cost. When they start to get that sort of reminder, we have it's probably at about a 0.5% delinquency rate for people not paying that monthly payment. If you've collected the full amount for the year, there's no delinquency because you collected it up front.
Yep.
Right? On the monthly payment, we've got that less than 1% at about a 0.5% right now on delinquency because of the reminder system and the notifications. While we're doing that, we're also notifying you. That's on your dashboard. And you'll see there's a symbol that just shows you. This is just a notification that says, hey, this payment was missed on this date by this patient. It's just a notification. You don't need to do anything. That's just letting you know we're on it. It happened. If it gets to the point where somebody on that 0.5% where they do go delinquent and they just wanted to skip town and get away with something, which is always at that percentage, it's so rare, but it happens.
But that's the one thing that everybody worries about, even though it's minimal, right? How am I going to get that person? And then when you lose sleep over, it's like, listen, it's 0.5%. Yeah, I mean, you've got patients that are doing this to you already. That So the same patients exist.
It's kind of like in regular retail. They say, there's 3% shrinkage because this is theft.
Right.
This is just that 3% that you build into your price. Build the 1% into your prices, and you don't have to lose sleep over it. And this is where we do all the work for you, so you don't have to worry about it. The admin costs, that you would have to do to try to do this yourself would be far greater than what it costs to use the software to do it for you. And by passing on the merchant fees to the patient on the collection side, then that makes it just a lot less worry for you that your patient's paying the admin and management fees. It's in their cost so that you're collecting what you need to collect and you get your full amount that you want to get. So it's a beautiful setup in that you know exactly what you're going to get, not what we're taking away from the full cost, because merchant fees, we all pay them.
Yeah.
A lot of people are starting to have a cash price and a credit card price because we hate merchant fees. But we don't like to build it in that way anymore. We just say, this is the cost, I know I got to eat it. And people say, I'm sure you've had a patient that says, well, what's my price if I pay cash? Right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's the same price.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
well, listen,
we
Renato,
make it easy for you.
So I think probably this was a lot of help for me to kind of wrap my mind around. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, what's the process like? Give us that. Where do they go? Kind of, if I wanted to onboard, give me kind of the steps I would need to take to get started with Vision HQ.
Right. So our website, and it's vision-hq.com. So important to have the dash in there. So vision-hq.com. When you get to the website, it's a really simple website in terms of there's not a lot of navigation. The best thing for people to sort of start with is take a look at the video. To get the video, just put your information in. We email it to you. It's about a 10-minute video. It gives you a really good overview of what our system capability is. Now, once you've done that, and if you're interested, what we highly recommend, and there's no commitment, there's no contracts with us, and people can say, if they enroll, they can get out of it anytime. We don't make them stay in it for a full year. But if they do enroll with us, the best thing to do if they're really interested, set up a 30-minute demo with anybody from our sales and success team. And everybody that we have is from the optical industry, from the vision care space. They've worked in practices. They know what happens on the back end and the front end. We can guide you through the process. In 30 minutes, you're going to know whether or not this is right for you. And it's 30 minutes of your time well spent. People can ask a lot of questions. We get people that spend 45 minutes to an hour just because they come loaded with a lot of questions, just like you've asked me. And we don't mind doing that. We love answering all the questions. So please come with questions on the demo, but set up a demo, because on the video, you get the high level view. On a demo, you get to see how it works with your numbers. We plug your numbers in on a demo and say, this is how it's going to look for you, and this is what your plan would look like on your basic plan. Once you've got the demo, then it's really easy. All we need to do is just, we've got a link that we send you right after the demo. You can click to sign up. The sign up process is about 15 minutes of your time. And building plans is the next step, where someone from our success team is going to sit with you for 30 minutes to an hour to help you build your plans. Then we set up a team training, and then we go through our marketing tools. And some of those tools are things like Community Connect that lets you market to local businesses that we didn't touch on, but there's a lot of great marketing tools that we offer that also allows you to market your business outside of your four walls. And once we've created all the plans and gone through the marketing tools and we've got you all set, it's launch day. It takes about 2 weeks from the time that you've done your demo, and if you're ready to go, to set up your plan and train your team and launch. And then our success team checks in at 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days, just to make sure you and your team are able to overcome objections, are comfortable with the wording, are having success. And we'll always monitor your business, but for the first 90 days, we like to hold your hand to make sure you're having the success that you expect.
Awesome. Renato, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. This has been insightful.
Dr. Wolfe, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And this has been great for me as well.